At a table of world champions surrounded by immense talent, I've got really the history makers in the league right now. And to further exemplify that point, he's barely in camera, but that guy over there, yeah, that's Zapman in black and white. We've got actual Zapman here at the table. Leviathans. How's it feel, guys? I mean, amongst a sea of roster swaps, seems like with only one so far, Haddix joining the team, it didn't really affect you guys, whereas every other team that's had to deal with them has looked a little bit shakier. How does it feel now playing with Haddix? How did that really shake up the team?
It's good. I mean, it gave us more fuel in the tank. You know, it was sad that we lost Shark, you know, for whatever reason. But when you bring in someone like Haddix, who's very vocal, knowledgeable about the game, likes to theory craft, help out with calls and stuff like that.
Keep going.
Yeah,
You can say more.
Yeah, it just handsome, tall, beautiful
He's
hair.
so tall.
He goes to the gym every day.
Every day?
Yeah, every day.
Boy,
Take a break.
So good too.
Yeah.
Stevie, I'm gonna come across that
You
table.
come over here, okay? And you know, and it revitalizes the team. It's just a natural occurrence when a roster changes. Like, it brings new energy in, and everyone's motivated.
Like a freshness.
I was motivated for like a whole day to not feed in scrims. And
Really?
yeah.
I think I saw that tweet. Like, we're not feeding in scrims
Yeah, that was
anymore.
like a day or two
Then the day
thing.
before,
You know.
already gone.
So no, it's been good. It's been good.
Yeah. How's the change up been? Was Yark also a vocal player? Was he a shot caller? Because we've heard from the Bolts, and you know, we said it on the desk, like the Bolts are looking a little bit lost now. Haddix was pretty primary insofar as their decision making. Was that like a clean fit in for them? Because outside looking in, we'd always assume the fans that use that man were primary shot caller, kind of like dictating everything that happened. Have you guys butt heads at all, or is it just been easy?
I'll just go again. No, like everyone makes calls on the team. It's just like for me, I just say like, you know, fire driver. Like I'll say like the final thing. You know what I mean? But everyone makes calls and stuff. Ronnie has been making these Gold Fury calls that have been like
Really?
yeah,
Yeah,
insane.
been looking good for the Levi's.
Fire of Monsters too.
It's funny. Sometimes he's like, guys, just listen to me. You know, because Ronnie makes some calls sometimes and we're like,
Do they ever not listen to you?
Because when we're like winning too hard, someone is like, I'm farming my last item. Or like, he just doesn't follow me, bro. I'm like, bro.
we're working
Just
on
listen.
that. Yeah, we're working on that.
Well, you guys, it's a good problem to have when you're winning too hard. Then things are looking a little bit iffy, but could be worse. How does it feel joining the team? Has it been similar to the Bolts environment? Because you guys were like the friends of the league, you know, now coming in here. How's it feel joining the squad?
I mean, it's a pretty natural fit for me. I mean, I've been friends with everyone on the team. I mean, played with them in Sanguine. Always been good boys with everyone on the team. It's been a really natural fit. I mean, I think compared to joining any other team in the league, this is probably the easiest fit for me. And honestly, it's been really easy for me. Been really smooth, yeah.
Yeah, I remember in an interview, actually, we were talking to you and you had said, originally when you were going to jump into the SPL, you had thought it would be with this roster, essentially. Can you go a little bit more in depth on that?
Yeah, I don't really know where that came from. I kind of just said it. I think I just said it to impress Steven. You know, he was looking at me. I wanted to make him
One
proud,
too many
but-
Modelos that day. Must have been.
No, but I do remember when I played with Sanguine and made the Worlds run, I kind of thought that you know, maybe there was a chance that I would end up joining the team in the SPL with Sanguine. But you know, like I said, if there's any other team I would plan on like fitting in so easily with, it'd be Leviathan. So that's why I feel like that could have been a pretty easy team for me to join into.
And it looks good for you guys, legitimately. It has been a smooth transition to the now Haddix version of the Leviathans. Team shot calling seems to be pretty clear. We haven't seen a lot of the concerns that teams that when their shot callers move around have had. Has been looking very good for you, especially considering Worlds right around the corner. Zapman, historically, your teams maybe don't do so great in Phase 1, Phase 2, but once Worlds starts to roll around, 3-time for a reason.
True.
What do you guys think about that? And let's get Shinto's opinion on it. How does that feel? Like, is that a legitimate decision-making process? Like, you know, Phase 1, Phase 2, sandbag a little bit, you know, keep people guessing. Phase 3 Worlds, step it up, or what's up?
Yeah, it's pretty much like that. In the first phase, we were like, not like, I would say like not trying, but I was like more like chilling, more like taking the thing like more like chill vibe. And then when it's like war time, it's like when we need to like push the gas pedal, you know what I mean, and like start try harding, playing the game like every single day, playing like for a bunch of hours, try hard in scream, like yeah, get involved in the game a bunch, pretty much.
Fair enough. How's that make you feel as the coach, Oxy? Do you like phase 1, phase 2? Are you like mad, like, why is Zapman farming one more item? What's going on? Listen to wrong use shot calls, or is it kind of understood in the coach role as well that you want to backload it?
To be honest, I am more a person for habits, so I try to every practice should be the best practice.
Okay.
Yeah, good luck.
He's trying his hardest. He's trying his hardest out here.
So the first and the second phase, I was so sad. but I know that my boys in the third phase, they popping up.
Okay.
Popping up.
Popping up.
He was so sad, phase 1 and 2.
Yeah, and it's funny because last year, no, like this January, I think when we did the interview like with Jarko and stuff, we were like, "What's your first goal as a team, as world champs?" And we're like, "Win the playoffs," but we didn't even. So it's like, bro, well, I guess we tried.
Hey, at the end of the day, everybody's aiming for the ring. But Oxy, who made you the most sad on the team in phase 1, phase 2? I saw where the eyes went immediately.
Panito. no, sad for sure.
Not close.
Not even close.
Why is that, Sap? What's going on? What's he talking about?
I've just been in the league for 10 years, man, and one thing I learned that's very important is pacing yourself, right? You don't want to use all the juice in the beginning and
For
not have
sure.
anything in the tank to grind out at the end, right? If you look at us now, everyone's streaming, everyone's grinding like 10 hours of ranked, scrims, all that stuff. If we did that in the beginning, no way we would be doing that right now. And also, like, in the spring spin stuff, you have that like afterworld high, you know what I mean? Everyone's
Yeah.
everyone's got a little bit of an ego in the spring. I don't want to try this pick, I don't want to do that. If I see someone build something, I'm not building that. Like, there's no way. If I didn't come up with it, I'm not building that.
You want it to be called the Zap build.
Yeah.
When you see it on Reddit and
But
stuff.
come fall, I try every build. I copy everyone, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So it's just like a natural transition, at least for me, it has been like spring, we still try to win, but it's not as like grindy. Okay, then like the summer, it's a little more grindy, we're getting a little more serious. And then in the fall, it's like, gloves are off, we're getting down to business.
It's almost like the opposite trajectory of what we've seen from the Jade Dragons in years of past, where it's phase 1, phase 2, they're dominating, right? And then it starts to peter off a little bit towards Worlds. Maybe now with the roster changes, they've been looking a lot better towards the
That will
end.
happen when you lose World. When you lose World, you're gonna try harder.
You would know, right? I mean, you would know.
That's pretty much. That's pretty much.
I'm gonna drink my drink.
Shinto wouldn't happen to me, though. Couldn't be me.
Couldn't be me, bro.
What do we think? 4th ring this year for the old Zapman? 2nd ring for the rest of the boys? 1st ring for Haddix?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Texas looking great, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You like that area, too.
Never
Texas
never-
looks
never
great
been.
this time of the year, huh?
Yeah.
Wonder what size ring I wear. The classic.
Do you guys ever roast Haddix? Like, only guy on the team, no ring? Like, does that ever
No.
come up?
Nah,
Oh, so he hasn't been like stinking up scrims or anything. First time he stinks it up, you gotta hit
Yeah,
him
he
with
think
it.
it up a little bit.
Hey,
I
the
think
thing
in the
is,
scrimmage,
listen.
like the side lane sometimes get kind of messy.
Listen, sometimes you put in too many hours and you wake up, you get on your computer and you're like,
Again?
do I really want to,
I respect that. I like that.
it is what it is.
Fair enough. Let's get down into the nitty gritty of it. In the past, we've discussed the Leviathans or even Team Sanguine as the squad that plays the meta. Whatever is at the top of Hazer's tier list or whatever's at the top of the Reddit
not
tier
Hazer's
list.
tier list.
Not
No,
Hazer's
no,
tier
no,
list,
no.
sorry. Oh, wait.
That
That guy
tier
is-
hasn't been accurate in years.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Listen,
Sorry,
That
Paul.
guy-
We
that
don't
guy
talk
is-
about that.
That guy is a bronze, bro. No.
If-
That guy is a straight up bronze, bro. I'm so sorry if the guy is watching.
Yeah, but I mean,
The guy.
I think Bro forgot who was first seed in this last
Yeah,
one.
that will happen when you mix bronze player with alcohol, bro. You make those type of thing, bro. With all the respect and all that stuff, but
But what respect is due?
with all the respect, bro.
Oh my god.
With all the respect, you know what I mean?
This is
all
Shito.
respect, dude.
What's in that cup, man?
What do they call those shows where it's like uncut or whatever, like Shinto uncut or like Shinto like
Shinto after dark, bro.
Shinto after
It's noon.
all respect, but
All
horrible
respect. I
opinion.
respect like everything, the content and everything, but you know,
But not the tier list.
Tier
but
list ain't
not,
it.
not everything like.
But the point I'm trying to get across is you guys play what people generally agree is the best in the game Is that still your identity now? How do the Leviathans see the Leviathans in the league? What's your identity in your own minds?
I could go. I don't think that's really the case anymore. I think we play a bunch of different stuff. Like, Shinto could play literally hunters, mages, assassins. I've attempted mages in the duel.
We've seen it.
Yeah, our only loss. I wouldn't blame the Zygen for that loss, but that's just me.
The Z set might be a reason.
That season
that might have been
Hey, you were getting the Gold Furies, all right?
That's what I'm saying.
Some of them.
Put some respect
Sometimes
on
the
it,
ult
yeah.
just didn't come out.
But yeah, no, we try a lot of stuff this year. Maybe sometimes too much, you know. And no, we're definitely not like stagnant when it comes to picks. We're very adaptable. Everyone's willing to play all types of styles, all types of roles, and yeah. So I don't think that's true anymore.
Yeah, and we're always telling each other which pick is good, but like we never like get it one. For example, Pandero will say, "Yo, Sab, you should play this one," but then it's really
When
bad.
I say Panatom, don't ever suggest me a guy again. Never again.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it to the jungle. But how would you describe maybe your play on field, right? So when we discuss the Kings, it's late game macro, right? Whereas PBM actually told me they're not late game macro. Jade Dragons, it's early game aggression. Olympus Bullets, we've always said the counterpunch squad. What do you think the Leviathans' win condition is? Like, what are you looking for, like, on day of? It used to be late game team fight for you guys, but your games don't go as late as they used to.
I don't think that we have like a style. I think we play like around the team comp we have and pretty much.
Pretty much we're a draft team.
Draft
yeah,
team?
pretty much
Well,
draft.
draft if?
It depends of the draft. If we have like an early aggression draft, we're gonna go and fucking like smoke it down. And if we have like late game, we're gonna play late game. It depends. I don't think so. We have like a style like other teams.
Yeah.
Really is like, I would say like the drafts now are like the most important thing when it
Yeah.
comes to play
Yeah.
style. And I think when certain picks are in the meta, you're going to see certain play styles, right? Like you see a lot of the assassins mid, you're going to see a lot of like rotations to the side lanes looking for ganks, you know, because the second just push and rotate like you've been seeing, or like the early aggression from the Pele's in the jungle. She has so much kill potential early, and she farms really fast and she moves around. So that dictates the style, you know what I mean? So depending on the draft, that's kind of like where every team's at. Even the Kings, let's see, you might think they're a late game team, right? But if they're drafting the meta picks, then they're going to have to play early game. You're forced to do those kind of like different styles.
Fair enough. How do you guys feel about the meta right now? There's been some pretty wild shifts recently. I'm sure you've probably got some strong opinions. Seems like mid lane's been a bit
Yeah.
more homogenized recently.
Yeah, the mages are pretty much unplayable. You just can play like one mage and a Morrigan that's literally an assassin.
Yeah, what did you
So-
say on Twitter? It was Vulcan and Morrigan or bust.
Yeah, that's it. Vulcan and Mori and Pose, but I think Pose is such an average mage, so it's like I don't count that guy. So it's like two mages and the rest is like IDC or assassin. So I'm pretty disappointed.
He
with
likes
the
his mages.
With
Yeah,
the
mage players
with
love
the mage,
mages.
With the mage, I don't know. I want some like mages buff. You know what I mean? Like
What
mages.
do you think would need to change for mages to come back to the meta?
Just buff gods.
Buff gods?
See,
Think so?
Vulcan, they did like a small like
They
shield.
nerfed him.
Yeah, I mean they nerfed the turret to second, but they did like the one. They did like you can use the one in the cripple, and the guy is already like top tier mages. They need to like shift
Well, that's
a
also
little bit
because
the
of the
mage.
meta too, right? Like
Yeah.
you're playing against Cupid, just out
Yeah.
of Fields of Love, you know?
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know, a little bit like buff in the mages in general. They're like buffing items, but they are not buffing like the gods themselves. You know
What
I mean?
part of mages makes them weak? Is it
The
their ability to
yeah.
push? Or?
The early game is like unplayable. Some mages are you cannot push the wave, you cannot solo the red, you cannot like walk up because you're gonna get assassin on.
And we know you want to be soloing the red.
Yeah, of course. I wanna be efficient. You know what I mean? Like farming.
It's so fun. Sometimes it scares him like, "She, do you need help with that?" You know,
She does like dying to it.
yeah, you need help with that red? He's like, "Nah, no, get out of here."
He's thinking, man, this guy just wants my farm.
That's exactly
Trying
what
to
I'm
get my
trying to do.
gold. Fair enough, fair enough. How's everybody else feel about the meta right now? Like duo lane, I hear supports in particular around you.
Broken.
So happy, right?
So broken.
broken.
Yeah, I mean, it depends also on the, like the invade is kind of lame, but
Oh, you don't like the invade meta?
No, I don't like
really?
the invade
It feels
meta,
like so many other, like, you don't want to be the guy invading, or you don't like that they're invading
I
you?
could do
or-
both. I could do both. Like,
Uh-huh.
I understand the invade meta, but I just think it's lame. But I could just like invade or not invade. I just like the 2v2 action,
Mm-hmm.
the good old days. Will you like mechanic diff? Now it's just like who invades better, and I don't know.
Fair enough. You don't feel like maybe the 2v2 doesn't last long enough in the dual lane, or
No, like if it depends, like if who invades better is gonna get like
Okay.
you're gonna have a better 2v2. Also depends on the gods.
fair enough.
But yeah, also the scepter thing, like you don't have a lot of damage, but it helps a lot to clear the wave. So
Fair enough.
it's kind of you're just gonna have more push with that.
But besides the invade, how do you feel about support as a role right now?
Oh yeah, it's pretty good. It was
It's
okay. I'll
broken
say
God.
I'll,
broken.
I'll say it was really broken when Manticore's spike was a meta. Right now it's not a meta, unfortunately.
You think so? Are you talking about the most recent change in like
Yeah.
10 bonus?
Yeah.
The extra 100 gold really
Yeah,
takes out the
yeah,
meta, you think?
yeah.
No, it's
Building,
200 now.
Was it 200?
Yeah, I think
They
it was
never
pretty.
two time now.
yeah, 2 times.
It went from like 22 to 2,500 now, something
No, it's
like that.
2,400 now.
2200, yeah.
I knew
It's
that.
2,400.
Yeah.
2400.
You think it's just a little too
Okay.
slow to build now?
No,
It's
no,
longer
like
fun?
it's probably a little bit expensive for support, so it's probably better to get like Anglet or Renewal. Also, like Renewal plus Meditation is always
So
being
broken.
So
Meditation's still good.
good luck killing a support with meditation and mail renewal, bro.
yeah, it's probably the best combo you can do, and I like that because spikes were like pretty OP to be honest. You can solo anyone with that.
Yeah, you were essentially just like another assassin.
Yeah.
That was harder to kill.
It was a fun moment in rank to be honest, but apart from that, the support meta is kind of nerfing a little bit. They're still broken OP kinda, but not like super broken. So I like it.
Yeah, so you can just get your hands on the map, get involved. Because I remember a lot of the supports in the previous round of roundtables, like phase 2, phase 1, you guys were saying. It just feels like we don't get to do too much. We're not as tanky as we want to be. We
Our
don't
role
do enough
was out there.
damage.
Our role was out there.
Yeah, so some good changes for you guys going into Worlds, which I'm sure feels really good for you. How about you, Zap? How do you feel about the ADC meta?
Oh, it's so weak. Oh, it's so many
It
bugs.
used
Yeah,
some
get your
love.
love
Listen,
hand out there.
I still haven't been able to build my
Counter
earring,
propaganda.
my Griffinwood earring. I have not been able to build it. My earring. I've not been able to build it.
Where's my earring?
He won the earring when
That's
he
one
got
thing,
Devo,
right?
bro.
And, I mean, another thing is it's good right now because the supports are invading, which means we get a lot of solo farm. Anytime the invade meta happens, hunters are happy.
Yeah, you hit 2 off like what, 2 minions?
Yeah,
on
like 2
first
minions.
wave?
So I've always liked the invade meta personally because as a carry, I'm selfish and I want all the farm, right? And so, and also when I'm ahead and the sport's behind, they don't really threaten me anymore,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's good. It's good right now for hunters, except the earring. I want to build the earring one day.
What needs to change? What needs to change for Griffin Wing to jump in?
I don't know. It needs to take the place of an item in the current builds right now, right? So there's like,
smart.
Oboe, Chin Size, Silver Branch, XE, right? So it needs to have pen on it to take the place of like Silver Branch, for instance, right? It doesn't need 20% pen, maybe like 10 or 15. Get fancy with it, 15% or something like that. And then it could be built over Silver Branch. You can justify building it like, okay, we have pen and we have this unique passive that has a decent value. So we'll take the 5% pen loss instead of the Silver Branch and the Silver Branch passive loss for this passive and okay amount of pen. So it needs to be able to compete with the items that are currently being built, which it does not compete at all right now.
Fair enough. It's an okay stat stick, but yeah, I don't see it replacing any of the core items.
Yeah, exactly. It
It's
needs
like
to
a
compete with the
luxury.
It
it
don't
needs to
have
compete with
passive.
them.
Yeah, it doesn't really have a power.
So yeah,
You can
I'll just say one more
auto-type
thing.
faster.
I'll just say one more thing about the passive. It's like-
Hardest to hit with the projectile more fast.
You think it's more difficult to land the
Yeah.
shots? I agree. I was going to ask you about that.
So if you think about it like objectively speaking, right? If you already hit 95% of your autos, I'm not saying I hit 95, but let's just say,
You're
for
close to
argument's
it,
sake,
yeah,
right?
close to
Maybe
it.
93.5. If you hit 95% of your autos and you still hit 95%, that passive is completely useless because you're hitting the same amount. It does not increase your DPS, right? It does not. So it doesn't do anything. That passive is basically not a passive, right? Whereas like even if it increases like maybe 5%, it's still not that crazy. Whereas if you're like a 50% hitter, and then all of a sudden you're hitting 75, that's a humongous change. But
it's like a crutch item almost.
yeah, but at the top level, a lot of hunters are not missing. Not only that, you have a lot of setup from your front line, so you're not really missing autos. So that's why the item needs more love. It needs that pen or maybe some crit on it, just something to take the place of another item.
Fair enough. Maybe like lifesteal. I guess you could replace like Devourers, but good
There's
luck doing
something,
that.
one of the items, it has to be able to compete with them.
Huh, that's interesting. Well, I didn't expect such a good answer about Griffin Wings. You've been
I've been thinking about it.
man.
I think about it a lot.
I complain about Griffin all the time, bro.
Yeah, think about it a
He
lot.
always
Has he
complains
sold
about
some scrims trying to pick up Griffin Wings? Trying to
Nah,
slot
he
it in
just,
there?
if you ever go to his stream, he's like, oh, where's my Griffin wing?
You should see what I hear at that
Every
extreme.
patch.
He's like, oh, hunters, oh.
Every patch, he's begging for a Griffin wing buffs. Every patch.
How do you feel in the solo lane, Haddix?
I think solo's fine right now. I mean,
broke.
Solo seems pretty good. I don't know.
No, I don't think solo is broken right now. To be
Really?
honest. I think right now, to be honest, people say, "Oh, mid is broken. Oh, ADC is
Who
broken."
say mid is broken?
Like AMC,
No
for
one
sure.
say
Anyway,
mid is
okay,
broken. No one say that.
People will take their turns saying which role is broken, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, support and jungle are always the most broken, no matter what.
Oh,
I
know
can
about
agree with
jungle.
that. That's not
Yeah,
how
it's
it
on,
works.
he's not here to defend himself.
Yes.
but-
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if jungle items are bad unless it's really bad. Unless they're like horribly nerfed, which they haven't been in a long time. There was one meta recently where they were like really hard nerfed. And then once junglers are really weak like that, it actually makes the game horrible. Like when junglers are really weak, it lets all these laners pick some things that they should not be able to pick.
Just like
Because
really slow picks.
just things that they should be getting punished, right?
Like the Ola run meta,
Yeah,
right?
so
where it's
people-
Ola run every game.
Yeah, people complain a lot in ranked about when junglers are broken or whatever, or when they're strong. And fair enough. I mean, junglers are annoying, supports are annoying, roamers are annoying. But when junglers aren't broken, the game is literally the worst ever, man. Because people will be picking things that are just so unfun and should not be able to be played because the junglers can't punish them for it. But yeah, I mean, junglers and supports always the most broken. They roam. They have the most influence on the map. Always the most broken unless they're hard nerfed.
Damn, that makes a lot of sense.
And solo, it's okay. I mean, it's probably towards the stronger side with ADC. Mid's probably weaker.
Probably, right.
Probably. You say that probably.
Okay, you can say mid is weak. Like their mage selection is weak. But if you look at the SPL,
When you're
mids
playing
are still
AMC,
doing a lot.
You're getting a top pick still.
Mids are doing a lot. If you see Mori players, AMC players, Vulcan, all these
The
picks,
sets.
these picks do a lot in these games. So it's not a weak role. They're still doing a lot of things. There's just the mage tab is weak.
The mage class.
But
the
not,
mage tab is
but not
weak.
in the early, and probably
Yeah.
that is not.
Yeah,
an
but
effective.
Yeah, mages is, I don't care. Fucking weak.
You're going to the Zapman school, you're going to get buffed, huh?
Yeah, I don't know.
He knows what's up.
Yeah, but either way, I used to care about like what the meta was for solo, and I mean, something just switched in my brain like a year ago, and I don't care what the meta is anymore. I'll play whatever.
That's smart. And I feel like that's almost something, Zapman, you might be able to speak to this as an OG player. There was back when I was playing, back in the early days, it was a huge emphasis on player mindset that was, I'm going to play whatever's good, I want to win, I want money. That's all it is, I want to make my money. But nowadays, I feel like a lot of players in the league are really interested in defining their own style. They want to be unique, they want to play their own style of picks. You can see it with Sanford Soccer at times. He won't play what any of the other junglers are doing. Back when Gilgamesh was meta, you couldn't buy a Gilgamesh game. The second he's nerfed, Sanford Soccer's playing it.
And they're like game either.
Yeah, that's really like that's
There's a lot of players like that.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot.
There's a lot, but
And they all complain in the Discord that their gods aren't good either.
and then they get buffed, and everybody starts playing. I'm like, I don't want to play.
I don't want to play anymore. It's the meta. I can't play what's the meta because it's
Yeah, you
not
know-
me. I'm not making it.
You bring up an interesting point. Like there are a few players like that, and I wouldn't want to play with them.
Yeah.
Bottom line, I would not want to play with them, or I would try to change them. If they don't change, then something's got to give. I think that's just the wrong mindset, right? Like, especially if you think about this as your job, right? Your job is to win, so therefore you should be playing the best, whatever gives you the best possible chance to win. And so that kind of mindset is not, what's the word, conducive to like doing your job and winning.
He's so smart.
I mean, I tried. It's 30 years,
31.
What are you doing, bro? What are you doing, bro?
Jesus.
Yeah, but anyway, long story short is that you need to play whatever's good and whatever gives your team the best chance. And if you're not doing that, I feel like you're hurting your team and you're not being a team player. And that's all I got to say about it.
Yeah, but like back in the day, I just feel like it was a much more pervasive idea.
Well, people have Twitter accounts now, and they have the Discord to complain in, so
Fair
they can
enough.
try to get their things buffed, and they'll. Honestly, there's a lot of people. I used to do it when I first joined. Like the first year, I liked playing Warriors, and I thought, oh, Guardian meta, that isn't how solo should be. And eventually, you just learn that this is like kind of a job, and
Things
why
change,
am
gotta
I
adapt.
why am I bound by the balance team? Why am I gonna have to complain to try to get something buffed and wait for the balance team to come save me when you should just be able to adapt?
That's a strong mentality.
That's also the most important thing when it comes to tournaments too, is you need to be able to adapt really quickly compared to normal phase.
Fair enough. That is them strong words. And I think you're right, man. And we see that teams that are capable of adapting, obviously a little bit more meta resistant. especially historically around Worlds, there's usually like one balance patch like really changes things that might change up the World's meta. So knowing that you guys are very willing to change up your god pools, change up how you're willing to play and approach the match, I'm sure it is great to hear for the Leviathans fans, maybe a little bit shaky for every other team's fans in the league. They don't want to hear that at all. But as we start to move into Worlds, do you foresee any primary meta shifts? Are you excited for your prospects here? Who are some of the threats you're looking out for? Like, what are our general just foreseeables going into the World Championships?
Like Haddock said, it definitely depends on the balance team. I mean, they pretty much decide what the meta is going to be. A lot of years, they buff mage ADCs towards the end. So that
Feels like Fafnir always comes back around Worlds.
Yeah.
Alquang a little bit too.
Yeah.
He's back now.
Alquang.
Alquang's back?
No,
Alquang.
Fafnir.
Oh,
Fafnir.
Yeah,
Fafnir is
Alquan
back.
hasn't been.
Yeah, wasn't he like good in like season 6 or something like that?
What?
Alquan?
Am I making that up?
I think you're making that up.
Yeah,
Playing Alquang. I'm pushing my propaganda now.
yeah, I don't know. At the end of the year, always like I feel like in mid, bro, you always need to play ADC at the end of the year, bro. It was like that last year too, bro.
Yeah, certain picks always come back around
Yeah.
Worlds time, you know, because you're kind of done trying things and you're like, okay, this is the Apex Predator in mid, or this is the
the
Apex
classics.
pick in duo. Like mage ADCs, when they're good, they're always the best because they're always outtrade the hunters, especially in the early game. And so, like, you know, those kind of things come back. Certain solo picks, certain jungle picks, like tanky junglers always come back around Worlds
Love
time.
that.
You know, these kind of patterns always happen. So, I mean, we'll see. It's up to the balance team, like I said, at the end of the day. And, you know, whatever they decide, we'll flow with it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm sure the balance team would love to have more players like you guys out there. Right? They would love that.
Please buff circus support.
What do you think changed? Was it the leap change that really hurt her support? Because I thought that support would stick around. Or was it scaling?
The starter item and the scaling. So like the good thing about assassin support that used to be, it was like you could go benevolence and Lonos math, so you will probably be unkillable because the mitigation that you could start with compassion and Lonos mask. So now that is gone because Lonos is a starter now, and also they changed the scale, so you don't do like any damage unless you build damage. So now it's pretty weak also, and she doesn't have the best wave clear, and she's kind of bad at invading too. And if you go Lonos, you're gonna lose damage. So I don't know, it's kind of really weak in my opinion. But I don't know, maybe I can make it work soon.
Yeah. I thought with Mail of Renewal and Meditation, you're so hard to kill anyway, maybe Assassins would come back, but we haven't seen too much of it. Are there any teams that you guys are concerned about matching up against as you start to move into Worlds? Anyone you would kind of want to avoid in bracket?
The
or?
Valks.
Yeah, bro, the bug.
Yeah, the Valks got your
Wow,
number.
That was
What's
the
up with
first
that?
time we beat
Wow, was
them.
the counter, bro.
That was the first time we beat them.
I was walking by when you were talking to Haddix about it. You're in the booth. You're like, all right, Haddix, here's the thing. We don't beat the Valks. And he looked at you guys, and I saw him in your eyes.
He was gonna leave.
Disbelief. He was angry. He's like, wait, are you serious? You lose to these guys?
I was trying to ease the pain if when we were gonna lose to them.
It wasn't gonna happen.
And then that set a little bit contentious, right?
close.
There's some close stuff in there. 4-game set. Was there a moment where you're like, oh my god, they're serious? Like we lose the Valks, or were you locked in? You're like, I won't let it happen.
You know, I mean, sometimes you don't really know the outcome of the set, to be honest. But no matter what, you're going to be confident the whole way through. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to win, to be honest. You have to be confident to be able to win.
Fair enough. And certainly the confidence was there for Haddix on day of. I looked around.
Not anyone else.
I looked around. Everyone was. You guys were
Not
kind of
Steven.
content with it.
I was defeated.
I got soloed that set.
You better not let
did,
it happen
bro.
this next set.
To be fair, I did a solo kill on the remake game because
Yeah,
I
you
killed
got Kier Me
I killed
right
the
before
rat.
gold.
Yeah, and then on game 4 I got sold. That's why it should not count. That game shouldn't even
Yeah,
have
you should
happened.
just watch it.
True.
Right.
True.
Man, that remake game, it was interesting too. I mean, maybe get expression.
That's my first ever remake that I've actually cared in.
Like ever.
Yeah, like every time we're in scrims and like someone F6s early and does like a remake of the same picks, I'm
Mentally
not
checks
doing
out.
That. What you doing, bro?
No, I don't know.
Is that your?
You got a vape bud.
I don't know.
Don't blow up, you know.
Keep it under the desk, huh? Keep it under the
That's
desk.
or what?
Oxy's running, dude.
What are we
Scoot away
doing?
a little bit.
Yeah, I don't remember what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, the
but,
4 game.
Yeah. So on that remake, if we were to like go back and watch it, it's right when you solo Kier Me, but Gold Fury is coming up. Didn't you get your beads and Aegis? Were you
Yeah,
guys still
both
confident going
outfits.
into that fight, or Were you kind of like, oh, remake?
Yeah,
Yes.
so what happened was that whole like 2 minutes was the turning point for us because Shinto was 3 levels ahead. I was 2
Yeah,
levels.
you were farming, but you were like always farming.
So it was like we were like 2K gold ahead, but if you looked at the XP, we were probably like 8K ahead in XP. Ronnie had like a 2-level lead. I had a 2-level lead. Shinto had a 3-level lead, about to get a starter. Haddix was ahead. Like literally everyone was ahead in XP. So that was the time we were about to group up and just like end the game.
Yeah.
And then it happened. So it was a little bit
The
late, but
incident.
you know, at the end of the day, stuff like that happens. You just gotta move on.
The 4th game though, the comms were funny though.
Yeah,
Were
the
they?
comp, yeah.
What was the
We
vibe
were
like?
just like killing one. Let's go, boys!
I was going hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, seeing you guys, everyone was excited. And then I look over the Valks booth, and it's just like, so sad, poor guys. But still impressive stuff. Good mental to stay in there. Because I would say, being in your position there, I would have been much more angry. Whereas the Valks seemed like they were a little bit more upset about it. If you're winning and then you gotta like get to winning again, that would have really upset me. But mental's steadfast on the Leviathans. It seems like you were all still on the right page, still ready to keep rolling through with it. So we're worried about the Valks. Any other teams we're worried about coming around Worlds?
Jark ADC.
Yeah.
I ain't worried. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Oh, that guy's kind of
No, he's sick.
What was it? It was a 3-week period where he played ADC originally, and then he overtook Netroid as the most soulingest ADC player in just like
Oh yeah,
3 weeks.
they follow each other, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about Yark is like, what makes him scary is that he's an intelligent player. He's not like one of those mindless smorking players.
Yeah.
He's smart, so like he'll fight you when he knows he can fight you, or when he gets his power spikes. He knows how to farm. So like overall, he can apply those skills to any role. You know what I mean? He knows how to farm in any role, and he's a very intelligent person. That's what makes him scary for a lot of hunters.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So the bottom seeded teams are the ones you guys are worried about.
Yep.
Scarabs and the Valks.
Yeah.
That's something that the Kings had brought up as well. I wonder, is there a reason for that, you think? Is it legitimately just those teams, or is it anybody that's towards the
Ego.
bottom you're a little bit more concerned about?
Ego.
It's a little bit of ego, but it's
Yeah.
also like we know the top teams really well. We
Yeah.
know play styles and stuff. We know how to beat them. We know how to read them. We know what it takes to overcome them. But the bottom teams, they're the ones that surprise you with some crazy
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Unbreakable. They're
Just some
unbreakable.
weekend they come in, you're like, this is the best team in the world.
Yeah,
What's
they're-
going on?
yeah.
And then they go back to, sticking it
Anytime,
out.
first off, mentally, just speaking like mental wise, it's not easy to be like 100% full focus like I'm playing against the Kings or the Dragons or the Warriors. When you play against like a bottom team, it just happens. It's just natural. Like you don't
Yeah.
take them as serious as like a tie. It doesn't have that same like energy. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
It
Hard
just
to hype yourself
yeah,
up.
it is just the truth, right? And so those are the dangerous games. That's why they call them the trap games and stuff like that. And we have a ton of respect for all the players like on the Valks or the Scarabs or any of the bottom teams right now. And we think they are good enough, are talented enough to beat anybody. So that's why they're so scary. And I feel like maybe other top teams are more scared of them than each other because we're kind of so familiar and
Yeah.
we can have that extra energy and focus going up against them. But those guys, I mean, they're the dangerous ones for sure.
Yeah, at that point, it's almost an argument of consistency, right? Like, when you play against the Dragons, you know what you're getting. When you
Yeah.
play against the Kings, you know what you're getting. When you play against the Valks on a good day, it's like, this is a different squad.
Yeah,
Right? The
they're
Scarabs
insane.
on a good day, it's like, this is a different team. So once they get that consistency, maybe you can start to practice against them a little bit more so. But until they get there, it's just hope they're not rolling high today. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
basically.
So,
And sometimes you can prepare
yeah?
for this team because they can try a new things or unexpected things. So I don't know. The first time that we lose against Valk, they go with Anubis Smith.
Yeah.
I mean,
What are you going to do about that?
Yeah.
how you prepare your team against an Anubis Smith?
Yeah, I mean,
I
that's,
wouldn't be doing it.
that's the thing. When you're a bottom team, you kind of you're losing a lot. So you have
Nothing to lose.
nothing to lose. Well, you have nothing to lose. So like you have everything to gain. But other than that, you kind of can throw a lot of things at the wall.
Just
You
see
can
what
throw a lot
sticks.
of different strategies. So you're like Steven said, you can't really expect what they're gonna do because maybe they've done something this week and they're gonna try it. Oh, it didn't work, and maybe this week this one works, and then
If you play the same, you know that you're gonna lose. So
Yeah.
you wanna try new things or unexpected.
yeah, it's just they can throw completely unexpected things at you.
Yeah,
Compared
so-
to other top teams, they have a defined thing that makes them win.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense actually. That is a very difficult position that maybe Oxy has to put himself through every week. Like, what do I got to do?
Where's the
you know?
Anubis?
Is it going to be Anubis? I'm going to check your notes next time you walk in against the Knox, see if Anubis is checked off, just to make sure. But that is really interesting to hear, because that's two top teams now that have put a lot of threat on those bottom-seeded squads. And I think it'll be good for the fans to hear at home as well, because it feels like the Valks and the Scarabs just get a lot of hate in the community, which is I suppose warranted because of their seeding, but
I mean, I can speak on that a little bit because I've been on bottom teams too before. It's like, first off, someone has to be on the bottom. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you have 20 teams or 4 teams. There's going to be a team
Someone's
that's going to
20th,
be
yeah.
blast, okay, and they're not going to look that good because obviously they're last. But it does not mean they're bad. For instance, like the Scarabs, they went through a lot of roster changes, so they have that as an excuse. Like the Valks, they've shown flashes of brilliance. I thought at the end of the summer split, they were an incredible team. Like they were playing meta picks, they were playing the map so well. Now they're starting to do some Naja mid stuffs, like whatever. But
They won though.
yeah. But
won
my
that.
point being is that they showed that, and they can be that good. They just need the consistency that you said, and but someone has to be the bottom. So I wouldn't really give them a lot of flack for it. Like they have the potential to beat anyone. Just look at the Scarabs last year. They literally beat the Dragons going to the semifinals, and they actually could have beaten the Titans very easily. 1 or 2 plays, and the momentum would have been completely different for them. Going into the later on in that set. So, don't sleep on these teams. Don't give them too much hate because it's not easy to perform at the highest level in SPL and playoffs and go through a lot of stuff. And don't forget they're humans too. They got to live their lives too outside of Smite. It's not just Smite and things like that. Things go on outside of Smite. Housing stuff with a lot of roster changes probably very stressful and things like that. So just cut them some slack, I'd say.
fair enough. A well-reasoned response. And I suppose this is a team that can probably relate at least to the Valkyries a little bit, considering you're so close to your rookie year. This is their rookie year, so we'll see as growth starts to continue for them. But we've talked about the bottom of the SPL. What about the Challenger circuit, guys? Anybody out there? Any teams that have caught your eyes? Anyone?
I got to start watching that.
Oath.
Oath? You think Oath's like that guy? Like is Oath that guy coming up?
Yeah.
You think so? I've been interested in his career as well because he's been in the Challenger circuit for a while. He had said he'd taken this year off to play professionally. He wants to continue to grow in the Challenger circuit. A little concern over there.
Well, okay, the main reason why he did that is because if you try to get into the bottom seed SPL, I can speak on that because originally I was offered bottom seed teams. I mean, Bolts was also, Renegades was like a 6 seed team. You don't feel great when you have you're confident in yourself and that you feel like you could be a top SPL player, which some rookies definitely have shown that you can come in and be a top SPL player. I mean, Daniel did it. I think Stu did as well for a bit. I think he came in and played pretty well. So it feels bad when you feel like you're confident in yourself and you can come in and play well to join a bottom seed team. And that's why Oath didn't want to come into SPL because he didn't want to join and be an 8 seed team and lose every weekend. And he was hoping to try to get a better spot, basically.
Fair enough.
Which that's what you want to do initially, but the advice I gave him is that you just have to take any offer you can get. You need to get your name out there and get an SPL and show how good you are. Because you can look at Valks and Scarabs and you can see people on there like Kermi, Gamma. People have improved a lot, and you can look at the bottom teams a bunch of players off the bottom seed teams have been taken.
Right, that's a great point,
and
actually.
moved up the top. You just need to get in the SPL and show what you can do. Even if you're losing, you can still tell the talent of a player. And while it's going to feel bad to lose, that's what you need to do to get in better teams.
Fair enough. It's almost like the big man on campus syndrome. You go from high school senior to college freshman. It doesn't feel great.
Yeah.
Don't want to be first seed in the SEC to bottom team in the SPL.
Yeah.
But no teams as a whole have caught your eyes. I know there are a lot of Hex Mambo fans out there. They're saying that team is one you really need to keep your eye on.
Oh, yeah.
Eldritch
They
Hounds
could be
looking
bottom
pretty
seed
good.
teams for sure.
Yeah.
You think so?
I think what is it? Eldritch Hounds and
Yeah, it's the North American.
and Hex Mambo. I think those 2 teams could be bottom seed teams for sure. I could see Bolts, Valkyries, Scarabs struggling with them.
Hexmom are definitely scary. I mean, they got a lot of veterans on the team.
Yeah.
They know how to win games. They've been in pressure situations, so definitely scary teams in the SEC for sure.
Do you think there's maybe some SPL teams that you would project not making it, through to past these SEC boys? You think they're gonna maybe step on them on the way up,
I think I would just say that everyone needs to be careful.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's what I'll say.
I think that's what Deathwalker said too. So.
Then I take it back.
Yeah.
I take it back. Then.
We can't be boosting that ego.
No worries then. No worries.
Yeah, we're not a fit of Hex Mambo at all. Yeah.
At all, not concerned.
0.
Fair enough. Man, it is so interesting to hear you guys' thoughts about competitive play as a whole. Very, very candid thoughts as that, and a very diverse team. We've got 10-year veteran, we've got rookies to the league, we've got world champions or reigning world champions as well. Really, it's all about how much do you think you've got coming into Worlds? Like, if I were to ask you, projected, what do you think you're going to do to win Worlds? Everybody's going to say, we're going to win, right? I could ask the Scarab tomorrow. They're going to say they're going to win Worlds. I could ask the Valks tomorrow. They're going to win Worlds. But give it to me real. How do we feel about our odds moving in? Are you confident? Do you perceive yourselves as like top of the league right now? Are we kind of banking on some like last minute growth as we start to go into Worlds? Like, what's the adjustments there? What are we seeing as a Leviathans roster?
I'm seeing Leviathans Kings finals.
You think so? You think it's Kings in the finals?
Yes.
Even with the J Dragons looking as good as they are.
Steven has an
recently.
opinion on that.
I think Kings have a really good macro game, and that could be the J Dragon style.
Yeah.
They're-
Maybe
okay.
bank on the Twig curse as
To
well.
be honest, when they draft against the Dragons, that was a horrible draft. Like just a low key tier against Yamoja, Daiji. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
Biggie's punching air right now.
They were cooking,
Yeah,
they
that
were
was true.
cooking,
That
bro.
draft was
Yeah.
something else.
I was like, why they don't draft like this when they play us, bro? But I feel like the Kings have a really good macro, and I think that what wins the game is in wards. Macro.
Macro, wards, and just P's and B's.
It's all
But,
mental too in tournaments. If you have a bad mental, it's gonna be over pretty quickly. If you can't handle the high pressure situations, that's kind of what makes a player, I think, in tournaments.
And this would be your first Worlds, correct? No, second?
Second.
Second Worlds. So
Yeah.
you're used to these situations.
I mean-
How do you feel going into it? Like, there's a lot of experience on the world stage.
I mean, for me, I played a whole set against Rival, but we were the only team to take a Phoenix off Rival. Just saying. Just saying.
That's pretty good. That's pretty
We
good.
were the only team to take a Phoenix off Rival until finals when they lost.
Who they lose to? Gosh,
Yeah.
Who was that?
Just kidding.
Uh,
Keep going.
But yeah, for me, I've never really been. The only time I've been nervous in SPL ever was literally my first set. It was against these guys actually. He's playing Raijin, of course, bro.
And I was back in Rising Meta too.
So easy.
4 levels up, running it down, one shot in.
Ice in his veins, bro. Playing Raijin. Yeah, no. That was the only time I've ever been nervous in SPL, and I think it's really, really important, at least in my opinion, for someone to have that confidence and to not change their mental during important sets like that, because you could have someone that's a great player and just dominate in normal games, but once it comes to an important match like a tournament like let's say it's a close set, that's where you need to have that mental, in my opinion. Otherwise, that great player could become a much worse player randomly, and it's just, in my opinion, mental is just almost everything in those. And yeah, I'm not worried about being on a stage or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, to speak to your point, we've seen players in the past for very brief stints in the SPL that would be scrim monsters. Like for example, there was a guy named Vicium for a while. Feels like he would dominate every scrim. We get to an actual match day, a little bit of nerves starting
No
to
one
show
cares about
up. Plays a
scrims.
little bit more passive, right? Guys like Gumi doing the exact same thing. Vesalius, these players that started to break into competitive, but started to realize that the stress of it was building up a little bit too much, and they couldn't hang.
Never heard those names before.
Exactly, because they were around for one phase and they didn't do so great. But
Fortunate.
well, yeah, you had some thoughts about the projected finals matchup, Zap, or at least haven't seen it. I think you did.
Yeah, no, I think the Kings, the Dragons, the Warriors, they can all do well. It really just depends. Like the thing with like the Kings and the Warriors is that when I watch them play, they play like their play style covers a broad spectrum of like metas and picks and stuff like that, like the team fight style, the macro style. For the Dragons, like if they're a very talented team, of course, they're all great players, but when you look at their style, or like if you look at the games they've lost basically every single close game this phase. Every single game that's gone down to the wire, they've lost. Every game they've won, it's been stomps, right? It's just classic Dragon stuff, and I've known them for a long time. It's basically, I see patterns because I've been around for so long. It's the same thing. Season 6, Season 7, they stomp. Close games, they lose. Whatever they might tell you, otherwise they can play late game, all this stuff, whatever they want to say. The numbers don't really lie. Like, it's the same pattern. So that doesn't mean they can't win, but that just means, that
It's a
they
more
are following
narrow
they're
condition.
following their pattern, right? And when it comes Worlds time, especially when the devs, a lot of times they make these metas a lot slower. There's not really that kind of snowball style. When they make the game slower and more close, when you look at the way the Warriors or the Kings play, they're much more scary in that mindset, in that kind of play style. So that's why we don't really think maybe we'll see the Dragons in the finals, but of course they're like an amazing team and they will do well. And again, it all depends like that weekend and what the meta is and things like that. So yeah, I think we can see any of those teams, but that's where it comes from. That's where it comes from. Why a lot of teams say the Kings or the Titans is because the way they play and the way they draft, it covers like a much broader spectrum. So I don't know. We can see any of those teams, but and to add on to what you were saying before, where it's like where do I see us project us? For me, I don't really care for 6th seed, 1st seed. What I want to see is like good habits. Like if I see my teammates and they're not like chasing a kill, or they're not like staying in the enemy jungle for too long, and obvious rotations are coming for them, and they're playing buffs priorities, they're doing all these like little things that I think is the correct way to play Smite, I'm very confident. Because the other stuff, like if you get soloed or you get picked, or you make it like a dumb rotation and puts you really behind, that kind of stuff is fixable. That kind of stuff is like when the focus is on, I know they're going to perform. But so when I see good habits and smart thinking, I'm just as confident as I'll ever be in the team.
Fair enough. Is there a specific one of these top seeded teams that you would prefer to see in the finals as a team? Like anyone that you think you've just got a particularly good matchup into? I know you brought up the Warriors, the Dragons, and the Kings as potential final contestants, but is there one of those three that you guys would like to meet there?
Netro, because he's a homie.
Yeah? Rooting for Netro, just want to see him up there? Fair enough.
Netro or Jark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Netro or Jack.
So someone wins. One of them always
Someone
wins.
of
The region wins.
Of the Latam.
Oh, Jarkor versus Netroy in the final.
Bow out.
Oh my God.
Fair enough. Well, we've gone through all the questions I have for you guys, but I do want to know how you guys perceive some of the team changes recently. For example, it feels like the Oni Warriors just got better. I don't know what happened. When I talked to him, Dardes is telling me he's just playing other video games,
Classic Dardes.
Yeah, classic Dardes. Or Neomaw's like, yeah, I don't know, my girlfriend gave me a kiss this morning. So But is there something you guys are noticing with the Oni Warriors that have really stepped up their game, or do you think just hand got hot at a good
I think
time?
it's just their meta right now.
I think
A lot of their picks that are in their play style, like they're very specific players. Dardes especially. They're very specific players, and those are kind of those people that I think are worse at adapting to certain metas. They're very limited in their play style and how they are. That's why they're a bit more predictable than some other teams. And right now, all those gods in their play style are meta right now. And that's why I think before, even with SSG, I mean, obviously it's not everyone on that team now, but I think I wasn't in the league then, but I remember what made SSG so difficult to play against, what made them win, is that one of their top picks would get through because you just couldn't ban everything against them. And it's kind of the same thing right now with Oni Warriors, where a lot of their gods are meta and you just can't ban them all. So they're going to get something that they're very good with and what they're very experienced on. And I think it's just pretty similar to what it is right now compared to SSG.
I think it's just Q of phase 3s,
Yeah.
True.
Classic Fred.
Ice in his veins right
I
now,
think
bro.
Fred's
they've
crazy.
been together for a long time too now.
Yeah, that's
like a team, so they have like
3 years.
a good chemistry. They're playing really well like a team. I feel like they've been like playing for a long time together.
They definitely have really good synergy.
Definitely seems like they have an identity right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they are
They are on the same page.
they're on the same page. They have a strat going into the games, into the drafts. They have things that they like. They have things that they know are good counters to certain picks, and they pick it. And if you watch Fred, I like watching Fred a lot. I think he's a really underrated player. Like right now, he's always 2 levels ahead of the other jungler, like always. He's never ganking. Like if you
No,
watch
he's
the way he
farming.
plays, he's farming, right? But he's picking like the Humbotses.
Yeah.
But he's
all
been
that
doing
stuff.
that for a long time, though, right? Like even when he had the nickname like Adapting Light,
Yeah.
because they were both farm-style junglers.
Yeah.
It just seems the meta
I think it's
fits him a little more.
it's so underrated. Like last round, for example, when those two guys like pop off,
They're
their
insane.
team are gonna like free win the game.
But just to add on to that is that right now the jungler actually doesn't need to be the one to do the pressure for the team, because that's what the hunter is, like their side, the hunter in mid is doing for them, right? That's what Dardes is doing to them right now. He's getting pressure on the map, so Fred doesn't have to do anything. He just farms the map because they know that they have the pressure mid, so the side lanes are safe, right?
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So Fred could just farm the map, and then Dardes has the pressure, so he's like, okay, the jungler's on the left jungle. Watch out for the gank, while Fred is just farming everything, and they're just winning the late game fights like hard in that way. So it's good to see. Like I like a lot of those guys there, but yeah, I just think They like Haddock said, it's definitely their meta, but they're all playing really well, and they all are bought into a certain way to play the game, and it looks really good. And Vote's been a beast too.
Yeah, fair enough. Last question. What's going on with the Titans? How do you guys see that team? We had kind of, I suppose, speculated on the casting squad that Cyclone must have just been a major part of that shot calling. Haven't had the opportunity to speak to some of their players, and Cyclone himself, he's kind of confirmed that, like, yeah, I handled the macro for this squad. Do you see the Titans kind of having a resurgence as we start to get closer to Worlds, or do you think maybe that change might just be it for the Titans?
I think that they're obviously everyone knows their atmosphere was bad, right? Every person that's come out of that team has said the
Very
same
public.
thing, right? So that's just public knowledge. That's one. Two, they were always just better players than other teams, right? Like
Good at
you
pressing
had
buttons.
Benji, Cyclone, Paul, Aurora, like all.
Sot?
Yeah, who's their jungler at the time?
Layers.
Yeah, they were all just like goated in their roles, like really good, and they were just really good, and they all played well, and they just won. You know what I mean? And they just won. I'm sure there wasn't even that much of a game plan when they picked. I'm pretty sure they just probably picked whatever they thought was best at the time. Like Aurora's like, Fenrir's the best pick, I'm just gonna play him, and Paul's like, Hell's the best pick, I'm just gonna pick him. You know what I mean? And they just dominate because they were just better. And I think that really is not the case this year. And since they struggled, they probably were like, okay, we're not winning like we were last year, which made us tolerate the atmosphere or whatever other shenanigans they had going on. So they wanted to make a change with Cyclone. And so now that they're not just better, or maybe the meta picks are not just better than the other picks that teams are picking, they're kind of like their weaknesses are showing, where maybe it's lack of game planning or lack of draft strategy or lack of shot calling. So I think that's what is happening to them right now, and they just got to figure that stuff out come Worlds time.
Fair enough. Is that kind of echoed across the table as well? You tend to agree?
Whatever Steven says.
Whatever he wants.
I get lost like in the middle of the
I mean, it's like when you just sit down, like, and someone just tells a story, and you're just enthralled in it.
Just looking at the eyes,
I'm just enthralled. I mean, whatever he says, it's just so accurate.
He's the grandpa Steven. So
I just get into it.
He basically cleared it up. When I talk about Only Warriors, that wasn't any disrespect, but he just cleared it up so well and so perfectly. He knows how to explain something perfectly and then add some niceness on it,
It's the age. I just get into it. I like to talk about this stuff. I like it a lot. I can ramble for hours if given the
And fans
chance.
love to hear. I love to hear it. It's very insightful.
We all love to hear it.
What about you, Oxy? You think maybe it's the P's and B's for the Titans, or what do you see as the coach?
I think Titans is a kind of team that need a bully player in the solo lane.
Yeah.
Was Benji the last year. I think Sot is pretty good in his lane, but it's more like a team player. A team player, solo laner.
Yeah, rotates a lot more, doesn't really generate pressure in the lane, instead tries to spread it across the map.
But that kind of team need
aggressive solo
an aggressive
solo laner to go and invade the blue.
Yeah, maybe like a scary D type, just I'm gonna sit in lane and I'll leave when I die,
Yeah.
Go into that,
Yeah, I'm agree with you. I'm agree, man. I agree, bro. Yeah. I'm so agree with you, my friend.
Oh, yeah, I'm crying.
All right, we're gonna get out of here. That's it. Leviathans interview, it's over. Stick around though, we got more.
Hey, wait, what did it win?
You win the respect.
You're telling me an alien wore this?
Perfect. Okay, that was a good cut.
Messaging him to mute.
The best graphics you really need, Ultra, of course, and I can probably watch a stream on the side.
Content's gonna look good.
Pretty good.